it's Jennifer here from Belladonna's Botanicals, and today I wanted to talk to you about not only some of our return to sender products, but kind of like how to work with return to sender spells and regular practices that you can get into on a daily basis, or the set it and forget it kind of work that will be part of your protection arsenal and how to work with different types of return to sender energy. So, what exactly I made notes so I can stay on point because ADHD is fun. So what exactly is a return to sender spell? So it gets thrown around a lot in the context of like defensive magic. Maybe not so much as baneful magic or cursing or hexing, though it can be in a way. I'll get to that in a moment. Return to sender is kind of like I throw something at you, bad energy, Becker's, or whatever. That's on one level. I throw that at you. You return to sender that energy back at me. So it's kind of like a magical tennis match sometimes because I don't know. I just sometimes I don't know why magical practitioners curse each other because it's just like ping pong, boom, 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 boom. Layers of protection, return to sender. Layers of protection, return to sender. And it's but it is what it is. And after time, everyone has their weaknesses and their strengths. So some things will be easier to penetrate as far as protections go and whatnot. There's always the sneak around to the back door, break a window, whatever, and you're in. Or some people might be more prone to being attacked on the astral realm versus a straight up hex thrown at your physical body. So that's one way that return to sender type energy is used. Um, the other way, and this kind of overlaps a little bit with, excuse me, like cord cutting type stuff, is, we come into contact with a lot of people, whether it be online, whether it be, just in our daily lives. And, energy is something, it's good to just kind of cut clear and send that back to whence it came, or at least into the universe. And honestly, right now, I'm going to be returning to sender some stuff to the asshole who lives on the corner who likes to blare music really freaking loud. To the point that there's no place in my house I can't hear it. So this motherfucker's getting some return to sender on. Anywho, I try not to do too much with that because sometimes return to sender type stuff can have unintended consequences. I'm going to talk a little bit about my experiences with that too. Because sometimes when we're doing return to sender work, we know who we are targeting in that. We know, like, okay, I'm returning to sender. This person I know is cursing me, whatever. Return to sender to that specific person. But when you don't have a specific target in mind, or you're being attacked, but you're not entirely sure by who, or or you have negative energy attachments, or things of that nature, or someone is causing harm or chaos in your life, you just want to return that energy to them. But you don't necessarily have like a name, date of birth, that kind of thing. So you can do generalized spells to return that energy. However, you have to be really careful with that because of unintended consequences and lessons learned. So 2 years ago, I live in the hood. And I live in a city where no one has freaking car insurance. So, my old car, well, not old car, but well, now old car, it was parked around the corner and it got totaled over Memorial Day weekend, like 2 years ago. And of course, I don't know when this happened because it was parked a block away. I didn't see it happen. And obviously no one left a note saying, "Oh, sorry, I accidentally rammed into your car," and it was up on the sidewalk. Um, Anyways, TLDR, they hit my car so hard it got totaled. And I had a Nissan Rogue, not a small car. And the weird thing was there was like almost no body damage on the outside, but they managed to knock the steering rack off, the whole transmission was fucked and everything, and the wheel wells and all that. But like it was a slightly older car, it's maybe like a 2012 or something. But I was obviously rather displeased about this unfortunate turn of events. So before or while I was waiting for the car to be towed, um, an interesting side note, I had my Azraludu pendant with me and I lost it. So Azraludu may have been involved in this as well, and that's one of the spirits from the Necronomicon. Um, I don't work with very often, but for like protection kind of stuff sometimes. So what I did when I was waiting for the car to be towed is I went out there with a roll of like packing tape and I took an impression from the paint samples from where the impact was on my car. And I wrapped that in my Abaddon charged stone black tourmaline and took it with me to use in a return to sender ritual. So I forget what else I had with it. The sigil of Abaddon. I know I burned some candles about, kind of returning to sender, like, hey, mother, you totaled my car. And now I have to, now my car insurance is higher. Now I have to go out and buy a new car. Oh, wait, my car insurance only covered me to have, basically I ended up with like $500 extra after the deductible. So yeah, great down payment on a new car. Um, so I was like, yeah, motherfucker, you're gonna pay. So I did a return to sender type thing with working with Abaddon, which might be a little bit more of a strong heavy hitter in that thing. So I'd had this on my altar for maybe, I mean, at most like a month. And I was sitting here one day because obviously I work from home. So this was probably in June sometime. And I hear lots of very loud noises coming from the corner. Now there's one house on the corner sort of that goes this way. Their address, the front of the house is facing the cross street. And then there's the house next to mine and then my house. So this is say maybe 100-ish feet away from my house. And I hear very loud, crashy sounds. And at which point I go out to discover a bus hit a car and then plowed into a whole bunch of cars parked on the street. I was not thinking at all about this spell work or anything at this happened because I was like, holy crap, there was just a bus accident on the corner, ran out to make sure people were okay and that the ambulances were coming and people weren't trying to move the injured people because you want to when people are in high impact car accidents, you want to clear their spine so they don't have like a spinal cord injury and you end up paralyzing them by trying to help them. And the fire, the police, and all that showed up, and it got cleared, or started to get cleared. And as I was walking back to the house, I just got this like whoosh through me, and it is done. I was like, "Fuck!" And I knew at that time to go, and I went as soon as I got in the door, took the stuff off the altar because now I don't know if that person who fucked up my car was on the bus, who was one of the cars that got smashed into by the bus, the car that was hit directly by the bus with the people in it or whatnot. But that can be an unintended consequence of doing any kind of return to sender or baneful magic when you don't have a specific target in sight. So lesson learned. You want to do things in a way that is, you don't want to, crash a plane to, get back at one person. So you kind of have to, when you're crafting things, take some of those little minute details into consideration because there can be unintended consequences. Now, could this have been purely coincidental that there was a bus accident on my corner and, within a week of, or within a month of, my car getting totaled and the spell work I did? Sure. But it was just that I got that like whoosh, it is done kind of thing. Which will happen sometimes with spell work. You'll kind of get that little like you'll have a knowing. Your intuition will tell you that this is completed, that you could stop working on this now. It's done. We got this. You're good. We got this. So lessons learned there. So return to sender magic. Now, I know a lot of people who don't practice black magic or work on the left-hand path or do demonology and anything like that, consider it to be sort of defensive magic and somehow okay as far as, if you're abiding to any kind of like threefold law or stuff like that. It can be baneful. Let's just not let's not mince words about that. Return to sender magic can fuck shit up. And it's, defensive magic is there for a reason. It's sort of like if someone's going to come up to me and punch me in the face, I'm probably going to punch them back. It's kind of that sort of thing. But don't delude yourself that I'm a light worker and love and light and whatnot, be doing return to sender spells because you're working on the same current that we all are. Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox about that. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about some things that are a little more specific in working with return to sender spells and rituals and products, because I'm going to talk a little bit about the products that I have, because what I like to engender is having things put into practice that aren't, okay, I'm going to sit down and do this whole spell work right now. Part of living a magical life is having things in place that are kind of constantly working for you, or a part of your spiritual and energetic hygiene. So the first thing I want to talk about, and this is something that you can do daily or weekly, I have the ritual bath salts. I also have a soap. I just ran out of it, so I haven't rebatched it yet. I just ran out of it like yesterday. So at the time of recording this. So you can use the return to sender bath salts if you've got energetic attachments, and you can end up with spirit attachments from people throwing any kind of curses at you. If you're working on the astral, you can end up with astral parasites, or you're just like, I live in a shitty neighborhood, so I've constantly got like shitty neighborhood energy hitting me all the time. And to return to sender that energy off of me, to clear that out, is part of my spiritual hygiene, because it will start to cause harm after a fashion. If you're not doing regular salt baths, cord cutting, smoke cleansings, I needed to get a large quantity of incense ash, which I use for some things that I make. So I would just have my cauldron out on the porch burning. I'll save because I'm messy when I make things, so I end up with like lots of herbs on the counter and various incenses. So I either smudged my neighborhood or summoned a whole fuck ton of demons. I'll let you know how that works out. But you want to do those energy clearing type things as part of your spiritual and energetic hygiene. Now, you might not think about, if you're looking at a return to sender thing in as part of that, but it should be, and it can be. So, even if you're just adding like a tablespoon of return to sender bath salt, or using that soap on, daily, weekly basis, and you don't have to throw a whole bag in it the whole time. Just, a tablespoon will do. So that's one thing that you can do with that as far as products go. I'm gonna get into some more specific stuff, but I just want to kind of go through the products that I have first. So I also have a return to sender spray. Now you can spray this in your areas. It's very minty smelling. So you could kind of spray yourself with it as well. Or you could spray ritual objects. Like if you were doing like a return to sender petition paper, you could spritz it with the return to sender spray, or things like that. So, and I will probably talk about this more as I get into the specifics, like towards the end of the video, I talk about some specific types of things you can do for return to sender. The return to sender spellfire. You need to burn some shit. There you go. Got a crappy ex and gonna burn all that shit he gave you, and you just want to return that energy back. Return to sender. It's your friend. The most popular is the return to sender ritual oil. Now, this is something you can use. Again, you can put it on petition papers. You can put like a drop in your bathtub if you don't have the bath salt or soap. You could anoint candles, ritual objects, anything like that. So and it's actually probably the return to sender oil is one of our most popular ritual oils. And recently released, if you're going to do smoke cleansing, we have a return to sender incense for that now. And I might work on some other return to sender products, like try to figure out the formulation for maybe doing like a bubble bath or body wash, because I like bubble baths. And if you don't have a bathtub to do a bath soak, like a body wash is great too. You can also use it as a hand wash. So that sort of thing. So just before I go into some of the spell and practice aspect of it, I want to talk a little bit about some of the types of things you can use in rituals for return to sender type work. So my favorite herbs and aromatics for working with return to sender is agrimony, which is an herb. Lemongrass, you can use the herb or essential oil. Just be careful with the essential oil. It is very dermacaustic. It's a really potent skin irritant, so you have to be very minimal in how much you use of it. Devil's shoestring, which is hard to come by sometimes. I usually get mine from Original Botanica in New York City or in Brooklyn, I think. Um, but that's a really good one, like a root kind of herb, that's good for that kind of work. Clove buds, you can also get clove essential oil. Again, like the lemongrass, clove essential oil is very dermacaustic, so it's a skin irritant. So, less is more in that. You can use substitute things like a fragrance oil for it. Like for like the bath salts, I'm not going to put lemongrass and clove essential oil in here because that's just gonna fuck your shit up skin wise. So I have to use sort of the symbolic with as long as it's kind of has the intention of being um used for return to sender, using a clove fragrance oil or lemongrass fragrance oil as a substitute is perfectly fine. Ginger root, that also comes in essential oil. That's a great one. Hyssop, that also comes in essential oil as well. It's not as common as some of the other ones, so it might be a little hard to find. But that one does have some safety precautions with it as well. I forget what they are off the top of my head, and I know I could reach that book right there to find out, the one with the little yellow top. It's the essential oil safety book. I'm a giant nerd. Vervain, and you can also use the like verbena essential oil, which is sort of the equivalent of Vervain. Calendula, which is sort of like I don't know if it's the same as like marigold flowers, but like it's in that kind of family. Peppermint, again, you can use the peppermint leaf, so you can use peppermint essential oil. Again, peppermint's essential oil is very it's a mucous membrane irritant. So like for the bath salts, I use a peppermint fragrance oil. It's very minty bath salts too. Because let me tell you, one time, the first time I took a bath and put like some peppermint essential oil in there, not properly diluted, yeah, I was like slapping some Bengay in places you wouldn't want to do that, or icy hot. Not so great. So the next thing I want to talk about too is, because I'm a giant nerd for crystals, so we're going to talk a little bit about crystals. And I did kind of figure out, although I don't think I brought everything over, I might be able to show you some close-ups of the crystals. If you watched one of my recent live streams, I was able to jerry rig my jeweler's loop to my webcam so I can do like close-ups of the crystals. I just forgot to bring the sticky stuff to put on there, but some of these are big enough that I can just show you. So these are my favorite crystals for return to sender kind of work. So you can incorporate them into your spell work, or you can make a crystal grid out of them. I did not bring something over to do a crystal grid on. You don't need to have a prefabricated crystal grid. Some of them I use like just an agate slab. Hold on. I have one over here I can show you. This is a smaller one, but you could use something like this, and all these crystals. You could make a grid. There goes my Tourmaline. But you could use this to kind of make a grid on it. So it doesn't have to necessarily be like a Metatron's cube or a Lemniscate or anything, or Fibonacci or anything or Flower of Life. It doesn't have to necessarily be encoded on that. You can make your own grids. You can do them on cloth. You can integrate them within your grid or within your altar space or whatnot. So the first one, I am a Smoky Quartz hoe. That is actually one of my favorite stones. And this is a piece. This is from my Lucifer altar. The light's a little. No, hold on. So I'm just kind of lighting it a little bit to kind of give you a better view. This is one from my Lucifer altar. It's actually a little cat fur on it. I have to do some altar dusting. But I love Smoky Quartz simply for um, its ability to transmute energies, and that's something you really want to do when you're doing return to sender work. Is that transmutation is really important. What I was showing before, it's a relatively small piece. That's my black tourmaline. It's hard sometimes to show crystals on webcams because it'll like not zoom in because you can see it's sort of blurred out. If I could get this mounted on here right and the lighting was better, I could get that maybe easier with this light. This one might be a little too lighty. And black tourmaline is really great for return to sender. That's the one I used in my Abaddon return to sender spell. So it is a very powerhouse because black tourmaline is really great for absorbing all your negative energy. So like when you're doing return to sender work, if you really, really charge this with that intention of returning to sender, that energy, that spell work, whatever, this will absorb everything. So, and it's also highly protective as well. So it's kind of got the double purpose to it. Another stone, this is a recent one. I love this. This is a cabochon, which is basically something that they use to make jewelry. And this is red coral. That actually, outside of the ring light glare, at least you can see it better. Red coral, like it's very lightweight too. Red coral is specifically really good if you're dealing with misogynists and bullies. So I found that one to be highly useful. Another one I love, this is black kyanite. And black kyanite, it's similar to blue kyanite, but it usually comes in these kind of wingy kind of blades. And this is great for like toxic, narcissistic kind of people that you're dealing with. So the next one, this is one that's surprising to me, but Aquamarine. It's sort of like a little squarish cylinder. Anyways, this is a piece of Aquamarine. It's very light, a very pale, light, bluish green in color. But this one, my Reiki teacher always jokes is the anti-Karen stone. So if you're dealing with really like that kind of person, like someone who's really toxic and argumentative and just a giant pain in the ass, little Aquamarine, or you got to emboss or coworker, a little bit of Aquamarine. I personally like so this is just a selenite wand. This is good for clearing. So you can do things to clear your energy and auric field with like selenite. That's something you can do on a regular basis, similar to cord cutting. I mean, you can just kind of do some energy work. This will also be part of your grid to clear out any of that bullshit energy people are sending you. And probably one of my favorite protective stones outside of black tourmaline is red tiger's eye. There are a couple. There's red tiger's eye, which is going to be darker brownish red. The yellow tiger's eye is much more golden yellow, and then there's also blue tiger's eye. But you can see tiger's eye really has that what they call chatoyancy, which is that sort of the way it reflects, almost the way like a cat's eye reflects. So this is one of my favorite stones for like really intense protection against that type of work. If someone's doing a lot of baneful magic against you, cursing you, hexing you, and you need to do that kind of return to sender work. Red tiger's eye, y'all. So now that we got through the crystals, I'm gonna turn my light off. I've got stuff everywhere. So now I want to talk a little bit about the types of ways that using these tools that you can do return to sender work. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a direct spell. Of course you can do that. I find candle spells to be particularly beneficial for return to sender work. You can get, or reversal candles are very similar. I mean, you could even just get like a simple, this is just a bullshit blue candle that I happen to have around and use that as a return to sender candle. There's ones you can get at sometimes at botanicas, but at like metaphysical stores or through certain practitioners that are already sort of they've got the herbs and the oils and all that stuff on them already. That's one way you can do a return to sender candle. And as far as the actual spell work goes with that, it's really going to vary. Like what I did with mine was I kind of called Abaddon, kind of stated my case, and it was like, return to sender this energy kind of. Even actually, sorry, this is I have to put this in here as a little fun fact of Jenn's early witchcraft. One of my first spells I did as a little itty bitty baby witch when I was like 19 and a very long time ago was after my dad got laid off from his job. I did basically kind of a return to sender spell to the CEO of the company. I don't want to go into names because he's actually rather well known in the Philadelphia local region and stuff like that. But, anyways, I just kind of did this let all you do come back to you kind of spell as this little 19-year-old, baby witch. And, within that year, they lost all their major clients. He's kind of, despite being sort of a famous kind of person, locally, I guess, maybe, I don't know, nationally or whatnot. He's always just kind of been a bit of a joke. There was a local indie rag that used to always call him El Malocchio. I'm like, I'd like to think I had a little bit to do with that on the down low, but and it was like what his name was, Pentacle of Doom, and because he owned a lot and had his hands in a lot of different companies. Kind of a gross guy. Like, I mean, one of the reasons like he laid off my dad was because in favor of 40 something men, or 20 something hot chicks. I'm gonna go with that. Yeah, that kind of guy. Um, Anywho, that was the first person I kind of cursed, and I kind of laugh about it because at the time he was on the board of directors of the college I went to, and many, many, many years later, when I worked at said college, he would with the various companies they would sponsor events or one of the main fundraising events. And I'd always kind of get a chuckle out of that in my fake fundraising gala. Oh, darling, it's so wonderful to see you. Thank you for coming tonight. Your support means so much to us. I've had a very weird life, guys. Yeah, I worked in fundraising. That was a shit show. Woo! Anyways, but I digress. Back to the main point. So, you can do any kind of return to sender spell and have it be really effective in a variety of ways. Just be specific, like I mentioned with the car incident, the bus crash earlier. So, there's different things that you can do on a daily basis or weekly basis, whatever kind of works for your situation. Now, I'm a Reiki master. Like, if you do any kind of energy work, you could do energetic clearing of that. So like I can call in the universal life force energy and connecting to my spirit guides and the spirits I work with the intention of removing any magic that's done against me and or returning it to sender and keeping my energy protected and separate from that as well. That's something you can do. There's also plenty of people who do like either live Reiki, like distance Reiki sessions on YouTube, or pre-recorded ones. There's a lot of channels that do that. There's also on the same energetic cleansing realm, there's a lot of channels that do like the different sort of like theta waves, delta waves, binaural beats, the things at different hertz with an intention of return to sender or, banishing or something like that. So that's another way you can work with return to sender kind of products and spells and energy and not necessarily be doing a full-blown gigantic ritual around it. You can incorporate it into your regular magical practice and arsenal. As I mentioned with the crystals, you can make a crystal grid that kind of is something that functions on its own, kind of in the same way like a servitor would. And we'll get to that as well. So you kind of have it, like I have a lot of protection grids around my house, or, I have a lot of crystal grids around that have various functions. Some of them I have to look and go, what's this one for again? Occasionally I write it down. Sometimes I don't. But that's something you can do if you want to, if you're somebody like me who has multiple grids, you can kind of set up a return to sender grid, put it on your main altar, and it's just going to be there, like working with that intention to kind of start filtering out and clearing that energy. Because the best way to do a lot of protection work, return to sender work, and baneful magic is to do it on multi levels, or multi-layered kind of spells. You don't want to just do one thing, consider it done, and then walk away, and it's really not done. So that is another way that you can kind of passively have something working in the background for you, the set it and forget it kind of stuff. The next way you can do, like I mentioned earlier, with like spraying the petition paper is, as part of like a candle spell. Like if I was going to do a ritual, like return to sender, so I'd have my candle. Maybe I would, if I knew who the person was, I'd carve their name in here. I'd put some of those herbs I mentioned, maybe put the crystal grid around the outside of the candle. And, this candle, or it could be a jar candle that burns, maybe you get one and you burn it over the course of the month. So as soon as that's done, you get another one. So you always kind of have something going for it. Like if you wanted to do a really intense, ritual, you can call in the spirits you work with, your spirit guides, your ancestors, whoever makes sense for you to do that. Like for me, if I was doing a return to sender spell, depending on the type, I would say probably I would work with Medusa for some things, Abaddon. If it's something justice related or legal, I would probably go with Belial for that. Um, so those are, for me, those are the spirits I work with. Maybe even Lilith. But again, it depends on who you work with that you might want to. Maybe you work with Belphegor, um, and you use Belphegor for that. So, um, my new favorite, low key, sort of return to sender sort of. I wouldn't call it a spell, but just sort of like throwing shade is, may you have the day that you deserve. So to the person whose dog that keeps shitting in front of mine and my neighbor's front steps, may you have the day that you deserve. Um, that kind of thing. So there are very simple things. I think a lot of times when people think of magic and doing rituals and spells, that it's got to be, you know, complex. It's got to be long and drawn out. It's got to involve all this stuff. And you can really, it doesn't really have to. Like you can have these things as part of your ongoing practice that it doesn't take you, 5 hours to do a return to sender spell. Unless you got a lot, unless you're doing just an all-in-one thing. But so I mentioned the spirits I work with for that. Another thing you can do that's on the passive, and this can kind of go in tandem with, say, doing a servitor. This is actually a protection jar, but you can make, whether you do, this doesn't have any liquids in it. It's just got like various herbs. This is actually a protection jar, but it's got various herbs and stones. You could put a petition in here as well. I don't remember if I did that or not. So I made this a little while ago. This is just something that kind of sits in front of my window. But it's for protection. So, but you could do something like this for return to sender. So, and this is where the servitor aspect comes in. And I have a video on creating servitors, which I will try to remember to link below, but it probably will be in the same playlist that this one's in. So, what you could do is create a servitor, and then this could be something like this could be the servitor's spirit house. So like a servitor would be something like a thought form. I'm just gonna give you the TLDR of it. Would be a thought form that's kind of programmed to like kind of like think of it as like a sentinel that's constantly on patrol, and you've programmed it to like pick up on any kind of baneful magic that is thrown at you and either dissolve it or throw it back at the person. So I find that it's actually the servitor I've created doing its job. I'm going to give it a little snack later. But that's another way you can create these set it and forget it kind of things that, you're not constantly having to worry about people doing negative magic against you. But, it doesn't always have to be people doing negative magic. Now, if you're someone who is, more well-known in a community, in a coven, in a spotlight, content creator, ritualist or whatever, ritual for hire, that sort of thing, you're gonna get a lot more thrown at you just because that's what people do. Or sometimes people just need a test subject to see, "Hmm, I wonder if this will work." Um, so having a servitor would be something that would be a good way to kind of sense that energy and then kind of remove it from your sphere. And again, it doesn't have to be like this person cursed you. There's a lot that our energy can do. Like I'm pretty sure I've cursed people without ever having lifted a finger to do a damn thing for it because my energy, my anger, my hate, my resentment, all of that got released and because it was targeted at someone there was a negative consequence. Like I was thinking, I'm like, I felt really horrible about this. I'm like it was because of the dog incident. I'm like, oh yeah, what happened to that dog? The person with the yappy dog across the street that used to wake me up and really fucking pissed. Oh shit, that was the house that burned down. you know, um, didn't do anything, didn't do any magic. It's just sometimes your energy can create a chaotic, almost thought form, or if you're in a place that has a lot of active land spirits, sometimes they can kind of feed on that and do their own thing. I live in Philadelphia, is a very old city, so not only are we on stolen Lenape land, you've got the Revolutionary War, you've got the Civil War. I am about 6 blocks from the 1985 move bombing, which, if you don't know anything about it, because somehow that one didn't make it to the news. Anyways, yeah, the city dropped a incendiary device on a Black Liberation compound about 6 blocks that way back in 1985. Burnt like two full city blocks to the ground, killed a bunch of people, including small children. It was a whole ass thing. So there's some energy. There's things that are attached to this area because it is old. There's a lot of history here. So when you're where you're at, you may have land spirits that you're completely unaware of. And I was working with someone recently that kind of was detecting some of that around, kind of the area. So that is something that you may not intentionally be doing something, but there are other spirits and entities. Like I always say, like I think I'm probably my own poltergeist at times. Um, so those your energy can sometimes, so now thinking about like your energy, now if someone's mad at you, there's that energy, whether they're cursing you or not. You cut someone off in line, you still, whatever bullshit drama is going on, that person, whether they're cursing you or not, is an indirect way sending their energy at you. So you might have to, sorry, I'm twiddling around with my light thingy. So again, that's another way you can return to sender that energy. And I'm also going to do another video on cord cutting because that is also another integral practice in your energetic hygiene that is going to help, because we develop cords. Like there's different levels of cords you could develop with the people you come in contact with today, whether it's online, whether it's in person. And it doesn't have to be like the cords you have with like your children or your spouse or your boyfriend or your cat or whatever. It might be just, your next door neighbor who you said hi to, or, the person in front of you in line at the store, or whatever. So sometimes it's just good to cut those energetic cords, because after a while, especially if you're sensitive to energy, and I am very sensitive to energy, which is why I really need to get out of the city, because I realize that is something beyond my autism spectrum sensory processing, which makes a lot of the noise triggering for me. The energy, the chaos of it, the energy of the city has changed a lot over the past 3 years, which is a whole other issue. But so yeah, for me, I'm ready for my Witch in the Woods story arc. So got a little bit off on a tangent there, but a servitor is a great way to have return to sender work constantly going in your favor. And with, and this goes over in the servitor creation thing, you can use the ritual oil to feed the servitor, or you can make it an offering of incense. you know, if you're creating a protection jar, you can put some of the spray in it, you can put some of the oil in it, any of those things. So I think there's something to be said for a lot of automating ritual and spell processes to save some of our time for like the things that really count, because a lot of this is maintenance work. And this can be done, like I said, with the bath stuff. You could do that, just throw a little bit in your bath or shower daily, or do like a weekly cleanse. Because your energetic and spiritual hygiene are important, as is clearing the energy in your space. Because it might not necessarily be the energy of all the spells and rituals and spirits you work with. Like my energy, ooh, that's what I have to clear out of my space sometimes, because I realize it's like I'm almost like I said, I'm my own damn poltergeist. It's not, Abaddon or Beelzebub or any of these other ones. It's my energy that needs to be cleansed sometimes. So that's something to keep into consideration. Now, other ways you can use these, like if you do the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, you could use the spray or the oil to anoint your, whatever you do that with, a wand or an athame or your finger. Because also return to sender stuff kind of overlaps a little bit with banishing. So this is just a little more targeted banishing in a niche specified kind of way. So while I haven't given you a specific spell or ritual to do, I hope these ideas kind of help you formulate how to work with return to sender products and return to sender type magical workings, and that you really think about incorporating them into your regular magical maintenance program. Because it's and this is something I've had to learn. It's not necessarily once and done things. There are some stuff that need to be done on a maintenance basis. So, you need to, every once in a while buff up your protections and wards. You can, and speaking of which, the return to sender spray would be very good for anyone doing mirror magic. Yeah. So that is definitely something with return to sender type work that is good to have on like a maintenance schedule, to have things that are just constantly going in layers, because someone throws something at you, it might get kind of like deflected off with one layer. If it's multiple people throwing this might get here, this might get, you're kind of got multiple things going at once, where instead of like all these things being thrown at you and sticking, or you do you do one return to sender spell and then you consider it all done. Now, most people when they're magically attacking, I don't know. I find the best thing is wait a little bit until they least expect it. That attack. And on that note, I've been going for 45 minutes. I'm sorry this video ended up quite long. I may edit a bit out, but especially where I was talking about. Anyways, I hope you found this enjoyable and informational. And if you have any questions, leave a comment below. I'm going to be making more videos about this kind of integrating like the different types of products with how you can use them in different modalities and different types of spell work, because everything is a little different. Like I wouldn't necessarily make a doom spray per se, because that would be really gross and stinky. And some things like that would have toxic stuff in it. So I will kind of go over a little bit of, at some point I'll probably do one on baneful products and like how to use them. Because some of them are used in a variety of different ways, depending on, if you are coming at this from, as a hoodoo practitioner versus someone who practices black magic on the left-hand path versus, a traditional witchcraft practitioner. So anyways, I'm going to stop babbling, because otherwise I'm going to keep on babbling, and there's now a fire truck going down my street. So anyways, hopefully I didn't accidentally return to sender anything too bad. Oops. Anyways, I love you all. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.